Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Jessica Stutzman. The Erie County Conservation District is an educational leader in addressing environmental concerns by providing Erie County citizens with expertise on agricultural management and education on conservation issues during the development of our natural resources. ECCD is also home to Headwaters Park. With us today is environmental educator for the Erie County Conservation District, Kristen Currier. Kristen, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's been some time since we've had you on the show, so I feel like you've had a lot of changes, a lot of new stuff is going on, and we're excited to have you back.
Thank you. Great to be here.
The first thing I want to talk about, you have a new initiative called Litter Critters. And I think I've heard of this before, actually, because you have partnered with other agencies.
Yes.
And we've had a couple organizations talk about it several months ago, or maybe even a year ago at this point. But what is the purpose of Litter Critters?
So the Erie Litter Critters is an initiative that the Conservation District has partnered with Penn State Barron and also the Penn State Master Watershed Stewards. And the Litter Critters is an initiative to get people to be aware of different ways that groups in Erie have put different means out there to pull in litter from the Lake Erie and surrounding streams. Mm-hmm. So for example, we have storm drains mm-hmm. that are in the city of Erie. And we also have a sea bin that is set out in the bay. We also have...
What is a sea bin?
A sea bin. We do have one right now in the bay, and it is a floating device that I believe last summer was around Rum Runners, that area. And it basically is a floating net that pulls in marine litter from the bay area, and then someone from the city will go out and empty the bin and get it started again. Mm-hmm. So it's basically litter collections, mm-hmm. is what the Litter Critters do.
And where is the litter from the lake coming from? Is it coming from, people driving near the lake, pedestrians, boaters, the storm drains? Where's it coming from?
That's a great question. Again, the Litter Critters, we're trying to make folks aware of the marine litter and different ways that we try and take the litter out of our waterways. It comes from a variety of different places. So mostly we find people aren't on purpose placing litter out there. They're not trying to leave coffee cups or food wrappers out. But we find that sometimes they will blow out of people's cars or blow out of people's baskets or carrying bags, and they end up just carried by the wind, and they end up in our waterways. We also find that maybe people aren't aware, but the storm drains that you find in the city that are along the sidewalks, those actually flow directly into creeks and then into Presque Isle Bay and Lake Erie. So when you're often walking along the sidewalk and you're noticing that there may be certain food wrappers and candy bits and pieces that are along the sidewalk, that actually goes directly into the creeks, which then flows right into our natural waterways. So we're trying to make folks aware through the critters that there are different ways to clean these pieces of marine litter up and hopefully even prevent it from entering the waterways to begin with.
And what are the different types of critters?
And when I say critters, I suppose I should say it's really just an engaging way of getting people to understand the different pieces of equipment that we have to pull the litter in. So right now we have 4 different critters. We do have a litter boom, which is actually in 2 different areas. One is across Millcreek, and it basically is just a floating boom that will stop the litter before it actually enters the bay and Lake Erie. We also have the storm drainer that is in the city of Erie. We have the sea bin, and then we also have street sweepers, which many municipalities in Erie County already utilize throughout the downtown areas, but that is one way that the municipalities use to clean up litter along the streets.
Yeah. And what are some items you're finding in these collection methods?
We find a great number of cigarette butts. They're tiny, and there's a great number of cigarette butts, a lot of straws, and we do find a lot of plastic bags. And I know there's been initiatives from other organizations and other businesses to either switch out bags or to encourage bringing your own bag or trying a paper bag. But those are some of the top 3 things that we find are cigarette butts and straws and the plastic bags.
And we do, in Millcreek Township, we do International Coastal Cleanup. And what I have found over time, maybe fascinating because you're trying to analyze the data as you're going along, is that yes, we find a lot of cigarette butts, but now we're finding the vape items, the miscellaneous vape items. And so I think it'll be interesting over time to see if, with the grocery store switching from the plastic bags to the cloth totes and things like that, if we're going to see that decrease over time, because that's why we do all of this data collection. One is to just, pull it out of the water, but 2 is to looking 10 years, 20 years down the road, how can we mitigate it?
Exactly.
So.
I should add that the information, the litter that is collected from all of these litter critters is all cataloged, and it's actually on the erielittercritter.com website.
Okay.
So you can see all the different things that have been collected and the amounts that have been collected. And I should add, we also have miscellaneous small plastic pieces. So maybe I should add that to the top 5 things that we found. Nobody knows exactly what it was at one time, but as plastic breaks down, you find tiny microplastics or small smidges of plastics. Those also are very, very difficult to pull out of the water once it's in the creeks and streams and the lake.
Yeah, it definitely is, and they just get smaller and smaller and smaller, really.
Exactly.
Who is Litter Critters geared towards?
The Litter Critter initiative is geared toward the community as a whole, and we are trying from many different perspectives to engage everybody, all ages, and whether you're in the rural, suburban, or the urban areas of Erie County. So on the website, you would find, if someone's really interested in the details of the data, you would find what we've pulled from the creeks, how much, and what time of year. But it's also geared towards students and smaller children. So we have an online game where you could choose Northeast Borough and do a recycling game of what gets recycled, what gets composted, and what goes into the landfill.
Yeah.
So we do try and reach out to all different ages and offer a lot of information, but we also want to offer the community information about what to do with what you find or how to properly dispose of it. While the litter critters are pulling the marine litter out, we'd like it to not enter the waterway to begin with.
Right.
So the website does offer information about, well, what should I do if I have old paint? What should I do if I have a refrigerator? Things like that.
Yeah, prevention's the key. What other programs is ECCD offering to the public?
We offer actually a wide variety of different things for all ages. Recently, we have offered a Field to Forest workshop for the community. We also offer a multitude of formal programs for children. For example, this was our first year that we offered an Explore Camp for graduates of grades 3rd, 4th, and 3, 4, and 5. We also offer informal programs. So we offer scavenger hunts, particularly throughout the summer months. So if you would like to bring your family out and just do a nature walk looking at different types of trees and identifying them, we offer those informal programs and scavenger hunts. We do have discovery backpacks. So actually those are available any time of year. Just stop by our office and they are outfitted to do an insect walk, or if you'd like to do a birding walk, it has all the equipment you would need inside, and you're welcome to borrow it and take it out into the park.
Yeah, so let's talk about Headwaters Park.
Sure.
How big or how long are the trails? What does the park look like?
I'm so glad you asked because we just finished a trail expansion last week.
Wonderful.
So, we have approximately 3 miles of trails, and about a quarter of them are ADA accessible. So that was really nice to be able to offer an even wider variety of trail surface for more of the public to visit. We have about 70 acres total, and we have 4 habitats. So you can enjoy the creek habitat, meadow, wetlands, and the forest habitat, all within our trail system.
Wonderful. And there's great parking at your facility too. So if anybody has not been to Headwaters Park, I think it's very easy to get to right off the highway, great parking, and you're going to have a nice time.
Yeah, we're very proud to offer it to the community. Hours are sunrise to sunset. We're open year-round. Trails are marked, so even in the winter when they're snow-covered, people can still go out for a hike, and they do.
Yeah. And then is there anything else for the public that you do that engages them at your facility?
We, it's funny because a lot of times when we're out working in the park, and like I mentioned, we just finished a trail extension. So we were able to acquire grant funding to create a boardwalk out into the wetlands. So people can actually go out into the wetland, and we have benches out there. People can just sit and observe the wildlife happening. But then even a little further to the east, we have a loop that we have just created. So we have offered some sitting areas for the public. We have a lot of dog walkers that come out to the park. So when we're out working in the park, we do get a chance to talk with the patrons. A lot of them are community members, but because we're located so close to Interstate 90, we have a lot of people that are traveling through, especially in the summer months, and they enjoy a quick stop just to have a picnic area.
Yeah.
We have the nature play area that we offer, and a lot of folks have discovered that this summer. Might take a walk with the family and then just have a picnic and enjoy the play area.
Yeah, and so, I mean, this is a park that ECCD owns and maintains, is that right?
We have the Headwaters NRC Trust, which actually owns part of the park, and then yes, the district actually does the maintenance and operations of the park itself. So we do make sure that the trails are maintained and that everything's clear and ready to go all year long.
Yeah, and like you said, it's really open, 4 seasons, and come with your lunch and just have a nice time out in nature. And
we do. We have folks that we do allow people to ride bikes.
Okay.
So no motorized vehicles, but we have people bring out their mountain bikes and their fat tire bikes. A lot of dog walkers, a lot of hikers. We have birders in the early morning come out. We're right on the flyway. So
wonderful. And I know in the past too, you've held a lot of different environmental events. I think there was either a women in science or like a STEM for high school kids. And there was, oh my gosh, there were so many large exhibits. Like people brought trailers, and we learned about trees and things like that. But I mean, you guys host so many things like that. You're a great facility for educating the public and our students on environmental activities.
We do try hard to take advantage of the facility that we have because we have the Natural Resource Center, which does have a lot of display cases with native Pennsylvania species. This year we were able to get a permit from Fish and Wildlife we have live turtles now at our facility, and that's been very popular with all of the school groups that have come to visit. But we also host the Envirothon every May, so we have a high school Envirothon where all high schools across Erie County are welcome to form teams and compete with their environmental knowledge. And then because that was so popular, we added a middle school Envirothon, which is the following week in May. And then we do, when possible, bring out the Ag Lab, which I think is what you're referring to.
That's what I was talking about, yes.
We bring the Ag Lab and we invite various schools to come in and enjoy those activities and hopefully partner up with other environmental agencies just to give a full experience to the students.
Awesome, that's so cool. Is there anything new planned for the future of the park?
We are working on putting together a pocket park. We do have a small plot of land right next to our facility that would be a perfect area for a lunchtime quick visit. If you wanted a very quick, flat walking path, a beautiful view, and also to get a little bit of educational information about wetlands or xeriscaping. So we're in the very beginning planning stages of that, but we are hoping to see that in the next couple of years come to fruition.
Wonderful. You'll have to keep us in the loop. And what sort of opportunities, because you guys are a pretty small staff to be able to accomplish all of this, what sort of opportunities are available for people who want to give back or volunteer?
We have a variety of opportunities for the public. We actually get this question quite a bit, specifically from patrons, because we really get a lot of support from our patrons. A lot of them will come back and they have taken bags out with them. So when you visit Headwaters Park, there really isn't, like we used to have the coastal cleanup, and we have actually offered our volunteers to other sites because there's not a lot of litter at our park because our patrons take such good care of it. We do offer an internship program for college students. That opens up every February. And so we encourage those interested in education and or the environment to apply for that. We also have a lot of Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops who will bring in their expertise and their help getting our trails in shape and keeping them in good shape for the year.
Can I just promote this internship program, because that is where I got my start. When I was in college, I needed to do an internship program, and I got my internship at ECCD. So I just want to thank ECCD for my start. But do you want to dive a little bit more into what the internship program looks like?
Absolutely. It is approximately 5 years old. I guess I'm thinking from COVID forward, from what we've been able to do. It is approximately a 12-week program, and we do a lot of education. So I mentioned earlier the Explore Camp that we started this year. So there's a lot of working with the day campers, a lot of working with incoming groups, but we also do a lot of partnering with Tamarack Wildlife or the PA Game Commission. So the intern also gets a chance to create some connections with other environmental agencies and really get a chance to see and experience what they might want to think about post-graduation.
And I think I love that, because I think as an environmental student, there's so many different tracks you can take after college. And if you're not completely clear about that, having that in the field, hands-on experience, again, which ECCD provided to me, helps you narrow your focus. And then, like you mentioned, it was the networking and the contacts that I made that now I still had to go back and finish college classes. But when I graduated, I was able to come back and reach out to all those people and say, I've graduated, like, what's open in this field? What can I get into now? And so, things just kind of steamrolled from there.
Right.
But internships, I think they are phenomenal. And I think, again, the way yours is a hands-on experience. And I know it's changed and morphed over the years, pre-COVID, post-COVID.
Right.
But it's such a wonderful experience.
Thank you.
Do they feel the same way, I'm sure? Now?
I hope so. We've actually heard from several of our past interns who have gone on to various environmental opportunities following that. So they have kept in touch with us, and so have the agencies that they did some networking with while they're interning with our office. So that was really nice to see that they kept in touch with folks, and it was beneficial to everybody.
Absolutely. You learned so much, on the job. Is there anything unique about Headwaters Park that you might not find maybe anywhere else in Erie?
Personally, my favorite part of Headwaters Park is the history behind it. I love the history of the Millcreek flood of 1915.
It's fascinating.
And I'm finding that some folks are aware of it, but there's a lot that aren't. And the fact that that flood actually started at our park is amazing to me. And actually, that's one of our scavenger hunts. We do leave that one up year round. And there are photos, and we have QR codes, so you can walk through the park and scan the QR codes with your phone, get a little snippet of the history, and at the end we have a box that you can open and see some pictures. I think that, along with the fact that in 70 acres we have 4 habitats, there's that really neat aquatic history of what's happened over 100 years ago and where we've come since then. I love that about our park.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything that you want to share about some of the history or some of the interesting facts that you have learned from the flood?
I think what was interesting when I discussed the flood with folks, and I try to bring it alive as much as I can, not being a storyteller, but I do my best. And when I talk about what Erie looked like then versus what it looks like today, and I talk about Veterans Stadium, which is essentially where a natural dam built up the night of the flood. And the drama of, with the water pressure finally breaking the dam and the water flowing through, and describing that the wall of water was 200 feet wide and 30 feet tall.
Wow.
Just basically washing French Street away, and German and State. Just the concept of what that must have been like that evening is absolutely amazing to me.
Right. And it took place on an evening, so there was probably, you couldn't really see it coming. You couldn't expect it.
Not at all. It was an August evening. It had been a very hot day, and within 3 hours, over 9 inches of rain fell. But this was back in 1915, so we didn't have any of the forecasting that we have today. So people didn't really know. They just knew it was a hot day and it was raining a lot. And so not being able to be prepared and not knowing about this just is amazing to me.
Yeah. I would love for our viewers to come out and do that walk, because I do think the Millcreek flood is such a fascinating historical event that happened here. So I'm so glad that you highlight that. And it really has shaped and changed the future. You know what I mean? It was catastrophic. So
very much it segues right into the fact that we now have the Millcreek tube, and many people don't know that Millcreek actually runs underneath the city of Erie, and it runs under the outfield at UPMC Park. So thinking if you're going to watch a baseball game and you're looking at the player out in center field, there's a giant creek underneath him, and a lot of people aren't aware of that.
No, it is really crazy to think about. So our time is almost to a close. So I do want to ask, and we kind of did mention this actually, is the park open year-round for activities?
It is. Okay. And we do have folks come out. They snowshoe in the winter, they cross-country ski in the winter, and in the spring, the wildflowers cannot be beat. They're just beautiful year-round, and the fall colors, absolutely year-round open. We welcome all sorts of folks. And
do you have any gardens? I know that at one time you had started gardens, for students and whatnot. Do you still have those gardens available?
We do have two different gardens. We have a rain garden, which is right at the entrance. We're still building and filling that in, but it has some beautiful native Pennsylvania plants in there. And we also have the community garden, which we've closed up for the year, but we will be planting that again next May with students.
Wonderful.
And that is open to the community, so they're welcome to come in and help us care for it. You had mentioned volunteering. We welcome volunteers to come in and help us care for it throughout the summer. But it's also open to the community for harvesting. Yeah. So they can come and enjoy the herbs and the different vegetables that we have at the end of summer.
I love that. They should contact you. So how do they get in touch with you?
The best way, well, there's several ways. You could go through the website, erieconservation.com. You certainly could send an email, which is also on the website, or you could call our office.
Wonderful. Kristen, thank you so much for coming here today and just looping us back into everything you guys are doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Viewers, we learned a little bit more about litter critters today. So if you have a little one and you want to learn about all the different ways in which you can take care of our city and our county and not, have extra litter added to our waterways, that would be helpful. Also, if you want to take a tour of the Headwaters Park and again learn more information about the Millcreek flood, that is available to you. This is such a great park available to us here in Millcreek Township. So I want to thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel, and until next time, have a great day.